Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to my respected lecturer, Dr. Rosilawati binti Sueb, and all of the audience. I, Dinie Afrina binti Azmi, will be presenting to you my study on the topic of student motivation. The research title for this study is Self-Efficacy Beliefs and Their Influence on Student Motivation. The reason why I chose this topic for my research study is due to the lack of students who wanted to further their studies at a higher level of education. This can be supported by Mahari and Rahmat 2024, who stated that Education Director General Azman said that a total of 383,685 students should be taking the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia SPM 2023 examination. Yet only 373,525 candidates sat for at least one subject of all the tests. Therefore, 10,160 candidates who applied for the SPM 2023 didn't attend school to take the examination. The number of absentees isn't small compared to 2022. This is such an imperative problem that will harm not only the individual but also the country. Due to that, problems should be solved starting from its roots. Therefore, investigating how students believe in their capabilities and the impact on their motivation to complete academic tasks will be beneficial as a research study. The objectives that I would like to achieve in this research are to explore sources of self-efficacy in students, to examine the interplay between self-efficacy and teacher expectations, and to identify the role of technology in enhancing self-efficacy. Let's dive into the literature review that I did while doing my research on student motivation. The theories that are closely related to my topic are intrinsic and extrinsic theory. Intrinsic theory of motivation is when people do something because of themselves, so that they feel content from doing the action or obtaining the information. This can be spotted by Ryan and Desi 2000, as cited in Nickerson 2023, who stated that the definition of intrinsic motivation is the action of a task for its inherent satisfaction rather than for several distinguishable outcomes. When a person is intrinsically motivated, he or she is shifted to doing it for pleasure or challenge demand rather than because of exterior rewards, pressures, or products. The reason why intrinsic motivation is related to the topic of self-efficacy is that students' confidence in their ability and capability of managing tasks comes from within themselves. It is a personal choice of how to act or behave when facing academic tasks, and there are students, especially who have higher levels of proficiency, that obtain intrinsic motivation while learning. This is different from the extrinsic theory of motivation, in which a person does an action due to external factors, such as he needs to study for a math quiz as he might get grounded for having lower grades, or he could go out with his friends if he gets at least 70 on the test. These factors are the reason for a person to be academically motivated, whether it is a positive or negative factor, which is widely known as extrinsic motivation. This can be spotted by Bandhu et al. 2024, who mentioned that extrinsic theory recommends that people involved in particular activities or the way they act because of the tendency of external pressures or rewards rather than because they find them personally fulfilling or fascinating. This can be seen among students who might have a middle level of proficiency in certain subjects and want to ace them due to something that awaits them in the future. Hence, this theory is relevant to the topic of self-efficacy, as personal confidence also engages in external factors of students' motivation. I've also been reviewing some research articles regarding the issue of students' motivation, which include Pathways to Student Motivation, a meta-analysis of antecedents of autonomous and controlled motivations, Motivating Students to Learn, an overview of literature in educational psychology, and teaches authentic strategies to support student motivation. The first research article, Pathways to Student Motivation, a meta-analysis of antecedents of autonomous and controlled motivations, mainly talks about the self-determination theory, the mediums of the self-motivated learning, which include autonomy, competence, and relatedness, teaches autonomy support that is more crucial than parental autonomy support, and last but not least, intrinsic motivation, which leads to higher achievement. On the other hand, the second research article, Motivating Students to Learn, an overview of literature in educational psychology, focuses on theories of motivations. These include Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where motivation starts from the roots, as it means to satisfy small needs and moves on to bigger and greater needs. Next is attribution theory, which their motivation is based on how they become conscious of their successes and failures. Moreover, expectancy theory is when the students can see the outcomes of their efforts that are leading to good results, they become motivated. Last but not least is behavioral learning theory, is when we can identify the reinforcement or pressures that can increase motivation. Lastly, the third research article on teachers' authentic strategies to support student motivation highlighted the points of key themes including relevancy, relationships with others, secured environment, self-regulated learning, and rewards. Not to mention, they also found that research-backed motivation theories often align with teacher strategies in class except for the use of rewards and punishment, which most scholars discourage to practice it. They also emphasize that there is a gap between research suggestions and what really happens in a classroom. Furthermore, some of the common grounds between all of these research articles are that all of them agree that motivation in students is crucial for their study, hence they researched the topic of motivation. Not only that, the three articles believe to have the same insight on intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, which have a say and a significant role in student achievement and performance. Not to forget that teachers have a big role that influencing student motivation in learning, as teachers foster strategies for students which are based on related theories and classroom realities. However, the methodologies that they used might differ in some ways, as the first and second articles mainly focus more on meta-analysis and theoretical frameworks. The first article used the quantitative research approach, where a huge scale of meta-analysis research of 144 published and unpublished studies on elements determining the motivation of students. This approach is similar to the second article, which also used the quantitative research approach for collecting data and information for the research article. The second research article is a review-based study which summed up and analyzed student motivation research that existed. The study includes delving into several theoretical frameworks, books, and published research papers in educational psychology. The third research article is based on real-life experiences of the teachers, which the research conducted an open-ended survey with a total of 42 teachers to recognize strategies for motivation. This is categorized as qualitative descriptive research, which they gained data collection by using snowball sampling method. The survey was shared via email networks and social media platforms. Moving on to the methods that I used to collect data for this research study, which include quantitative research and interviews. I've been doing some research on journal articles that related to my topic of student motivation, and I've done some interviews with 2 secondary school teachers to gain a clearer view of students' self-efficacy based on teachers' perspectives. The first interviewee is Banupriya Andyapan, a 34-year-old female teacher who teaches English language at one of the schools in Klang. She has been teaching various age for 10 years at a national secondary school. The second interviewee is a male teacher named Muhammad Azhar bin Turmudi, 51 years old, who teaches Sharia at a boarding school in Banting. He started teaching in 2000, so this year marks the 25th years of teaching secondary schools in various age as well. Both of the interviews lasted for approximately 20 to 30 minutes per session. The interviews took place at our preferred location as we met via Google Meet. There are 12 interview questions in total, and some of them include the strategies that the teachers used to help students who struggle with their confidence and examples of how high expectations positively impacted a student's self-efficacy and academic outcomes. These two teachers have similarities and distinct features that I've managed to capture while interviewing with them. I can see that both of the teachers have a solid background of experience in teaching secondary school and have a sturdy understanding on how to approach and help students in need. However, there are quite a few of differences that can be seen in which both of the teachers' students are different in terms of their mindset and how they manage themselves. The reason why I said this is because the first teacher, Teacher A, teaches at a national secondary school where most of them come from a normal background of education, while the second teacher, Teacher B, teaches at a boarding school that have a stricter rules and targets that they need to achieve in order to secure their place in that school. Not to mention that teacher A usually teaches low proficiency students that are in the last class in school, whereas teacher B might teach the last class in school but with middle proficiency level of students. Therefore, we could see that there are differences in students' self-managing ability. As teacher A's school, students might depend more on extrinsic motivation, and teacher B's school students lean towards intrinsic motivation. The first main finding that I managed to grasp from the interviews is collaborative learning, role of social interactions in self-efficacy. This can be seen when both of the interviewees stated that social interaction between peers and teachers are crucial in learning.
You should pair, I feel, students with low self-confidence with someone who struggles with confidence as well, but not at their level, a bit lower than them.
Terdapat risiko kalau terlalu bergantung pada teknologi, ya, kerana dia boleh mengurangkan interaksi sosial sebenarnya.
This can be supported by Mutevali et al. 2020 and Radia et al. 2023, where both of these research articles agree that teachers and friends in class play a vital role in verifying students' thoughts and their motivation. Not to forget that the second main finding is goal-setting strategies. The influence of expectations on student motivation plays a significant role in the discussion. The first interviewee stated that teachers should have an effective strategies to set goals by discussing it with the students.
But as I told them, no, if it's not a 65, then you set it at 65, then you'll probably drop to 60, but it's fine. At least there is a 5-mark increase.
And the second interviewee believed that communicating high expectations and goals in the right way will have a positive outcome.
Ekspektasi yang tinggi yang disampaikan dengan cara yang positif, dia sebenarnya dapat mempengaruhi pelajar, ya, untuk lebih berusaha, ya, dan mempercayai kebolehan mereka.
Based on the researches that had been conducted in the past, teachers should set up goals individually and in groups that emphasize that the goals should be significant and accomplishable, as high expectations would make students have low efficacy in reaching the goal. Radia et al. 2023 and Motivali et al. 2020. Lastly, the third main finding that is in this research is confidence-building activities, encouraging self-belief through small successes. Both of the interviewees believed that teachers should give students a task that is manageable to them, even if it's small and simple.
When we appreciate what they bring to the table, that makes them have that bit of confidence and build on that confidence.
Kita berikan dia tugasan-tugasan yang kecil. Secara beransur-ansur, dia yakin diri dia.
The previous research have found that most educators prefer to inspire learners by acknowledging their improvement separate from formal evaluation, even though autonomous from teachers and parents weren't the biggest factor of student motivation. Radi et al. 2023 and Biro et al. 2021. In a nutshell, I did a research on self-efficacy beliefs and their influence on students' motivation by using two methodologies that include quantitative research on 3 journal articles that related to my topic of student motivation and qualitative approach, which I interviewed 2 veteran secondary school teachers with different school status. The 2 main theories that are closely aligned with my research topic is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation theory, as I believe that the 2 teachers from different schools have different kind of students' ways of thinking and self-managing ability. There are 3 research articles that I used to compare and contrast with my research study that includes Pathways to Student Motivation, a meta-analysis of antecedents of autonomous and controlled motivations, Motivating Students to Learn, an overview of literature in educational psychology, and Teachers' Authentic Strategies to Support Student Motivation. The 3 main findings that I found in my research study are collaborative learning, role of social interactions in self-efficacy, confidence-building activities, encouraging self-belief through small successes, and goal-setting strategies, the influence of expectations on student motivation. The future research that I think it's possible to highlight is we should conduct a research on differences of student motivation among high and low proficiency students. I believe that student motivation not only depends on the individuals, but also teachers and parents especially, as they are the closest people around students that will influence them in whether or not they want to do well in their studies. Not to mention that government and ministries have a big role in motivating and inspiring students to work hard and keep on learning by coming up with various initiatives that can help students in terms of physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That's all for my case study presentation. Thank you.